So there's many things that make a stream unhealthy, and we'll see that in the next demonstration back at the building. But you know, what can create water pollution? I keep talking about that. What do you think of when you hear the word pollution as it relates to water? Well, pollution's, you know, many different things, and a lot of times it's what we put on the land that often ends up in our water, and this is called runoff. So stormwater runoff. When it rains, that rain carries the things that we've got that are bad on land, or bad for the water, and it carries it into the water. And this is a big problem, and this is how our waters get polluted. So we'll test for 2 water pollutants today in this stream, and then we'll talk more about what types of pollutants there are when we do the watershed model pollution demonstration in a little bit. So we're gonna switch down here, and I am actually going to show you, which I collected the water sample for. There's different measurements, different tools, I mean to say, that can be used to check the different nutrients in the water. But we use what's called a Hanna checker because they're very accurate. So there's a light beam that kind of reads the sample in the checker. So I collected the water sample, and I'm just going to walk through this. I'm going to get the meters set up, and then we'll talk about what phosphate and nitrate are, which is what we're testing for. Okay. So what I did was I got my water sample, and the way these work is we turn it on. Or not, it didn't like that. That's funny because I just checked this before I came down. There we go, we'll do this one. So, we'll first test for nitrate. So, once it's ready, I have my water sample here, and I pop that inside this checker, and I hit the button. And it's going to zero it out. So a water sample without the reagent. Then when it says C2, we are going to add a reagent. So it's a little portion of the nitrate chemical. And we're going to add it to the, not the nitrate chemical, sorry. It's a chemical we're going to add to the water, and it reacts with the water. And if there's nitrates in the water, it will show up. So, I'm going to do this over my paper I have here, so we have nothing going in the water. And I will clean my hands and the instruments later on. So I've got the sample in there, and I need to mix it. So I have about 2 minutes till that meter goes off. So I have to mix it so that it's dissolved. Okay, and then I clean off the cuvette, the glass container, so it has no fingerprints on there that could affect the reading of this. And then I hold the button down for the timer. Okay, so that's 6 minutes. I will do the phosphate later then, because for some reason, yep, that one's not working. So we'll do phosphate later. A different portion, and we'll get that. So what we're checking for, like I said, we would check for phosphates and nitrates. So phosphates are found naturally in streams. Okay, we have our data sheet here. So again, if you're doing an actual stream study, you would have your data sheet and record all of the data that we've already talked about, and then including our tests. So phosphates found naturally, it's needed by all organisms for metabolic reactions. Excess nutrients can cause algae growth, and it'll decrease the dissolved oxygen, and that's called eutrophication. You don't want, too little oxygen in the water, right? Because the animals can't breathe. The threats where excess phosphates would be coming from is places like wastewater treatment plants, runoff from the lawn that has been fertilized, and farmers' cropland. Okay, if you have too much of the fertilizer on there and it's all running off. Failing septic systems, runoff from animal manure storage areas, disturbed land areas, wetlands that have been drained, water treatment, and commercial cleaning preparations. All of these can increase the levels of phosphate in the water. Now for nitrate. Nitrite and nitrate are sources of nitrogen, and they are an important nutrient for plants and algae. As ammonia is broken down by bacterial action, nitrite is formed and it's converted into the more stable, less toxic nitrate through a process called nitrification. Excess nutrients can increase algae growth and decrease the oxygen, just like we talked about with phosphates. The threats, very similar. Sewage, too much fertilizers, and agricultural runoff can all increase the level of nitrite and nitrates. So these are our threats to our water systems. Now, what these checkers do, the HANA checkers, is with a phosphate, it would check in parts per million. And we'd take that part per million, and on the reading is 0 to 1 parts per million is excellent. 2 parts per million is good. 4 parts per million is fair. So you have to think about the number. We obviously want a low number. And it's a million parts of water. So that's a lot of parts of water. If the reading comes up as like 50 or 100 parts per million, would that be good? No, and I'm also being extreme. We would also see signs if the water was polluted. Remember, we did those other assessments. So looking at the color, we didn't talk about smell, but smelling the water. If it smells like eggs, or a rotting smell, that's obviously not good. So you have to put all of your data, all of your findings together. And our timer has 2 minutes and 13 seconds left, and then we will read what it says. And your teachers will be given an assessment sheet of the stream study to kind of help you review what you've learned in these videos. But while we're waiting, I do hope that you guys have enjoyed this. It is so much better in person, obviously. When Welkenware opens back up, perhaps you can visit us. It is free to come visit on weekdays. We are open 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. We also run summer nature day camps, and we are hopeful that they will occur this year in some form or another. So please, check out our website if you're interested. You can contact me. The full camp brochure is on our website. It is for kindergarten through 7th grade that we run camps for.